Know-it-alls. Everybody knows one, and chances are they know everything. At least, that's what they believe. It's hard to work with these types of people, but it's even more difficult to find out if we ourselves are know-it-alls. Why? Blame the Dunning-Kruger effect. Coined in 1999 by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias whereby people who are incompetent at something are unable to recognize their own incompetence. Not only do they fail to recognize this, they also feel confident that they are the best person for the task. So if this cognitive bias, this Dunning-Kruger effect is present inside your life, in your world, at your work, in the law firm, and there are tasks and processes that are being handled poorly, how would we even know we needed help if we're constantly overestimating our own competency? Optimism is important, but so is honesty. What if you could trust someone to help you get your firm back on track? Find places where a little outsourcing can bring a lot of improvements. That's what we're talking about today on Lawsome. Outsourcing legal work. Breaking through the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's roll.
Lawsome, the podcast for law firms. Powered by Consultwebs.
Welcome back to Lawsome, the podcast for law firms that sneaks up on you and then captures your heart. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain the legal community on the latest in personal and professional development. I'm Jake Sanders, your gluten-filled co-host, and joining me today is my loaf partner, Paul Julius. What's baking in your kitchen, Paulie?
Vengeance. No, I'm kidding. We're making pizza.
And serve that vengeance cold. It's what I've heard.
With a little truffle oil and some spring greens on the side. It's delicious.
It's microgreens. You kids are going to love this. What's cooking on the show today?
On the show today, we review an article about outsourcing legal services from thebalance.com. We interview Andrea Cannavina, founder of legaltypist.com and the Virtual Bar Association, and learn how she helps lawyers outsource with confidence. And as always, we place our guest on the hot bench for 10 questions we ask everyone.
Pull up a plate. It's the Hot Takes Buffet.
The article today is from thebalance.com. It's by William Pfeiffer, Outsourcing Legal Services. This is a great read. Quick read. Too short, Had to read twice. I don't know what that is. Obvious takeaways here from him is it reduces costs, outsourcing, and there's quicker project turnaround, but everyone else has found out about it, and big law is sending legal work and jobs associated with it overseas. I have a take on this. Paul, what's your thoughts?
So this is a real summary kind of article here.
Yeah.
We've really gotten pretty deep into this on a couple other past episodes, plus this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Andrea really digs deep on it too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this article is kind of what people are doing and what can be done and how things are changing a little bit sort of thing. It's not really like a how-to, but I think it's interesting right here that it says many Fortune 500 companies have taken notice of the cheap billing rates for lawyers overseas and have cut out the middleman in favor of dealing directly with the legal outsourcing firms.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little disturbing, to be honest. I don't like this idea of. I do like the idea of a global economy. I do think that as the cliche goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. If you have a larger talent pool, theoretically things are going to get better. But right now, sometimes the flip side of that is that it's just find the person who can do it for the cheapest, absolute minimum. You know what I mean? So you're going to, and it's still, you get what you pay for right now, kind of. There's no real regulations. So to me, that's what jumped out is like, I get leery when I see like Fortune 500 companies are doing it. It's like, I don't know that that's really the spirit of what we're looking at here,
But you just said it. You just said that there's different regulations. So the fact is, we would embrace wholeheartedly the fact that we could get specialized legal services done at cheaper costs by paying someone. And the only way we can allow ourselves to do that is by subverting the standard regulations that prevent us from doing that in our own country.
It's almost like you got to back it up and look at processes. Instead of saying, and we've discussed this before too, instead of looking at it like this client or, this practice area, you have to look at it and start to break things out a little bit more and say, okay, there's going to be the initial, there's going to be depositions, there's going to be discovery, filings, how much of this is systematic? I think that's the first thing, and say, okay, now what are we going to do with this? Like, is this something that we're comfortable? Can it be handled? Like, because now you got to talk about, do I have a process to, do QA work? I mean, is this okay? It says in this article too, in-house counsel or a local law firm review and approve outsourced work. So it's not totally like I'll ship this off and I'll get this thing back and just, send it over to the opposing counsel.
Right. You're going to have man hours to review the work that's been done originally. That's really good. Yeah.
But I like the idea. I like the one thing about mundane tasks and stuff like that. Like, and we talk about it later with Andrea, and she brings up artificial intelligence. We talk about things that can help with doing big amounts of research. Stuff like that.
And she also talks about small little things that you can do to help organize your email, so you can free yourself up to engage in these things. But my take on this whole thing, and I'm glad that you brought it back to processes, because lawyers at the end of the day are business owners. If you have a law firm or you're running a practice, you have to think of yourself as a business firm. And the goal of a business is to grow your practice. And to do that, you need help. So to know what help you need to have scope. You need to understand what the process is, find the places where things repeat, and see if you can find a way to outsource it or automate it. So see those mundane tasks, or see those things like, hey, this statute of limitations is always the same on this certain case. Set it and forget it in some kind of way that you can put it on a calendar and not worry about it, rather than having someone, I don't know.
Well, and that's exactly what Andrea says. I mean, she took something like email, and I'm not going to give it to you. Got to hear. Stay tuned, folks, because she really explains a fantastic system that she came up with for dealing with email.
Yeah.
And I think that's something. That's where it starts. You know what I mean? Like every day, you sit down, you open up your email, and you go, "Good God, look what I have to do."
Who are these people?
She solved that problem. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of a thing where that it really, like, that's a good stepping point to it's empowering. Right. I can solve this problem. Let me look around here. I mean, what else needs a system?
And that's why I wrote this down. I think the difference is people understanding the systems, getting them in place, and then understanding where their own expertise falls short, and coming to grips with that and saying, I need to find a community of people that I can trust. And, so I think that the future doesn't belong to people that can multitask. It belongs to people who can multi-ask. So you can ask multiple times for help and see those chances, rather than thinking I need to do 75 things at once. Maybe 5 of those things can be someone else's. I know it's not all of it, but if we can start thinking personally how we can reduce some of the complexity that we deal with, then maybe we can approach, correcting the situations that need to be corrected in less of a complex way, because we're not bogged down. So that's why Andrea has her organizational process, you got to listen to it. And it's nice to know that there's people out there that want to help lawyers do better and grow their practice. But the first thing they need to do is, say that they need help.
Let's hear it from the evangelist herself.
Well, let's go.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
We really have a relationship with Consultwebs that goes beyond simple business-to-business marketing. We have grown up with them as a company. They were there for us when we started. We were there for them when they started.
So I think that we were Consultwebs' first personal injury client 15 or 16 years ago.
I've been working with them directly for 10 years now, and they've always been a fantastic partner.
It's vitally important to us that when somebody says you should hire Bellick & Fox, and they go to the Bellick & Fox website, they're going to go beyond the website and contact us.
They understand storytelling, they understand technology, they understand a website isn't just text on a page, it's how you create an expectation for what that means to work with us.
When we get a case, they are very excited in a really genuine way that I think reflects the fact that they sort of view their success tied to ours. So that's why we've continued to use them.
I've never had anything but praise for how they've been able to market our website.
Go to consultwebs.com to learn more.
And now, for a lawsome interview.
With 15 plus years of legal secretarial and administrative experience, including working as a top-notch legal assistant in and around some of the largest firms in New York City, Andrea Cannavina has thoughtfully developed and thoroughly tested the application of specific technology in law firms in order to improve efficiency and reduce costs. Since 2001, Andrea has been the CEO of Legal Typists, Inc. She's also a master virtual assistant and director of the Virtual Bar Association. After all this, she's found her way to the Lawsome podcast, and we are honored to have her on the show today. How are you, Andrea?
Well, I am fine. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here and to share some time with you guys.
Tell us about Legal Typist and your journey to creating a legal outsourcing company.
Okay, so it goes kind of way back, as you said. It all started in 2001, and it was actually in response to the fact that I couldn't find any credible companies to work for online. I was, again, I was a full-time secretary, and I was starting my family. It was after my son was born. I was looking for some ways to make some extra income. I do live on Long Island, after all. It's expensive here. And there just wasn't. The only company I could find that even offered legal transcription services had 2 Department of Labor filings for non-payment of their typists. And it was like, whoa, maybe I don't want to work for that company.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
I sat, maybe not. So what was I going to do? I scoured the web and I couldn't find anything. The web was brand new at the time. People were just starting to use email. I mean, this was kind of way back in the day. There were no cell phones. There were no smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
People had beepers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I sat down with my husband and I said, I think I can learn how to do the web part and, put together a website and offer these services because I don't, see them anywhere. And, but I have to go and, I'm going to have to be in business for myself. And I guess, it's not really his thing. He's more of the wires, routers, and switches kind of guy when it comes to computers than it is making them work, software-wise.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we complement each other actually very well. And he said, you know what, go for it. And so Legal Typist filed my DBA, and Legal Typist was born. And within a few years, it went from me being a really overworked solo professional to me having teams of assistants helping law firms from across the United States and now up into Canada as well.
You're a master virtual assistant, which sounds amazing. I want to see this dojo and where you train. But you also say that you've created your own organizational process. So tell us about the DAFT organizational process.
Okay, so I like to say, unfortunately, I learned from the School of Hard Knocks quite frequently. I don't know if it's just because I'm really stubborn. I'm an Aries. I'm also Scottish descent. There's probably a lot of little genetic factors in there too. So
noted.
But I just so I had to get organized, and when it went from just me to more than me, when I realized I needed to have support for not only just the company and its processes, but for all of these law firms that needed it so desperately. The part that really became difficult was mastering the virtual. I already knew how to be an assistant. I knew I'm good at what I did, paid really well for who I was. But I just didn't have the time. And when I had my second child, forget it. That just absolutely negated. I would have been working almost a full-time job just to pay for daycare.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really in this thing that I immersed myself in becoming a virtual assistant. I'm a founding steering committee of the Online Virtual Assistants Convention, which is held every May every year. It's a 3-day virtual event that I've been a part of forever. And I mean, I go back to rewriting, one of 3 of only members at large that got to rewrite the bylaws for the International Virtual Assistants Association. I immersed myself in how to become better at what it was that I did. But then unfortunately, I also had to immerse myself in the marketing part of it. I am not a marketer by trade. I know you guys, I had said it before, we were trying to rework some stuff. I'm like, wait, let me try to get into marketing mode, because it's just not how I think. I'm an analytical, yes, no, black, white kind of person. So I can't even really tell stories that good. Unless we're talking. People ask me questions, I'm pretty good.
Yes.
But other than that, so I tried to get organized. I knew I needed more than me if I was going to keep my business going and keep it growing. I got more people involved. I put processes in place. I started doing what needed to be done because I knew it needed to be done. And one of the things was getting myself organized, especially with email. When you have over 500 incoming emails a day, and this was in 2006, 7, this is a long time ago for me, you needed a way to manage them. I tried to learn other people's systems. I followed David Allen. I read his book. I have it behind me. I give it to people as part of my coaching practice. It's absolutely a great book to understand the mechanics and the emotion for getting organized. Me, I'm not so patient with people. Here, just do this, 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 and this. Look, you're organized. Thanks. But what ended up happening with David Allen and me, the more I followed, the more lists I had. The more lists I had, the more I had to sync them. Back then, syncing wasn't easy, not across desktops, mobile devices, emails, everything else. Then I started realizing that no matter how much I could file act toss, there were things left behind. And then my brain, in its only creative moments, would try to find ways to finagle how to word that thing to fit into file act or toss. I'm like, what a waste of my creative juices. So I flunked. I was literally depressed as a business owner. I was upset with myself. I thought I was never going to get organized. And this wasn't the only. I've gone to sessions. I attended webinars. I paid a lot of money, not just invested my own time, but paid to try to get organized by other people's systems. When I realized, all right, I can try to find somebody else that's better than David Allen and, try their system, learn it first, figure out if it'll work, and then learn it, or I could try to do my own. And I actually said to myself, well, what's the harm? It's for me. I'm only investing my own time. And, all right, it's probably better for me to invest to try to figure this out than it is and incorporate it. My problems were I didn't just have paper and I didn't just have digital. I had both. And I had them crossing thousands of different ways every day. So I had to, like I said, I had no choice. I had to figure this out. So I spent a lot of time. First thing, it had to be easy. If it's not easy, no one's going to use it. It had to work across mobile and digital. It did not have to rely on lists. And it did not have to rely on thinking. It also had to be analog. And that's where kind of all, I have a Moleskine. I bullet journal like a crazy person. I've morphed that system as well. And I say bullet journal did to my task list in my physical written journal what DAF did to my email and my digital processes. So there are tools that I use and I recommend, and DAFT is the system that I came up with. And how I figured it out was I needed a place to put those things that I couldn't morph into a file act cost. And I started with ruminate because that's a word that I like to use, but it didn't, it didn't come across well. And so I ended up with D, which was defer, and then rearranged everything. So it's DAFT, defer, act, file, toss. And that's how it was quick and simple. And I just started testing and using it. I have 4 folders. I moved everything over. As I was moving them over, I realized there was ways for me to work it even better into my business processes, up to and including I do it by date folder. Everything in the inbox and the acts and the sent folders are all in that by reverse cron monthly order that I then PDF to get it out of my email. So technically, I have copies of everything that I've ever emailed or anything that anybody's ever said to me in reverse chron order by date, going all the way back to at least 2008. This isn't a massive amount of data. Do I ever use it? No, but as a business owner, it's a nice to know that all of these things are covered in terms of, technically retention, all of the things that as a business owner, you're actually supposed to be paying attention to that most people, of course, don't. So, but what ended up happening, the reason why I shared that was I wasn't planning. It was just for me. And it was working and I was chugging along and I was like, this works. This is great. And one of my friends where we camp, who worked in the financial sector for very successful people, was basically crying to me about how email was the bane of her existence and she was going to get fired. And so I was like, wait, I have this thing that I use. It's good for email. Here, let me write it down. And I wrote it down in a page. And it was closing weekend, and off she went. I didn't see her again for another 6 months. And the first time I saw her, she came bounding towards me, bounding.
Mm-hmm.
And she practically jumped in my lap. And I'm a pretty petite person. So for somebody to jump on me like that, I'd go flying. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm happy to see you too. And she's like, no, I love you for your draft. I got a raise.
Wow.
I was like, oh my goodness. And so she started sharing it with her friends, but she only had my handwritten doodle. So she asked if I could write it down. And so I wrote it down. And lo and behold, all these years later, it's now getting email done. And it's actually being rebranded. It's being rebranded as Control the Flow. People, time to control that flow.
I love it. Sounds like a pharmaceutical that maybe. So delegate, act, file. What's the T? What does the T stand for?
That's toss.
So just get rid of it.
Delete.
Oh.
Yep.
So I like that. That's really freeing, because if you can just delete stuff, that's great.
Delete is the fastest and the easiest. There is, if anybody listening wants to go to my site, the Techno Lawyer Techno feature. It was a Techno feature in 2008. So if you go to AndreaCannavina.com and at the bottom put in your email address, you'll get emailed a copy of that PDF of my condensing my entire system to just about 4 pages.
Awesome.
I was really proud of.
We will totally share that with the listeners. Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I'm curious how this transfers over. And maybe if you could just elaborate a little bit. I know, a lot of the lawyers that we talk to, one of the things that makes them angry is having to keep these physical files for like 10 years. Is there, and there's like it's just this burden, you know what I mean? Like these things are always around. So it's interesting to see, like yours, by the time you're done with something, it's off your plate. Using your example of your friend in the financial kind of vertical, do you find does this relate more to one industry or than another? Is it like a mindset? Is it something, because to me, like it sounds like it's perfect for a law firm. You know what I mean? Like now you don't have to worry if something's floating around. If you use this system, it has been properly handled, put through the channels, and dealt with,
What I like to call it a personal productivity system. Mm-hmm. So it's not meant for lawyers or non-lawyers or legal even. I get people from Yahoo. I get lots of people. I've given it away a lot over the years. And I get contacts from people all over the world saying, thank you very much. What I think it does for people, and think about how email evolved. First it wasn't there, then it was. Then it was like you, and then it was never not there. Like you can't turn it off now. I'm a big, big, big person. My husband likes to say I'm the most connected person he knows. Mm-hmm. If you text me, unless I'm like looking at my phone and I'm free, I'll text you back. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait because I may be driving or I may be thinking about something else. I'm not a person that allows the beeping and the whatnotting to interrupt what it is that I'm doing. Even if you're my friend, I'm sorry. I think you can wait a few minutes for me to get back to you unless it's an emergency,
Completely.
So my husband's laughed because I started as a Palm person. As a Palm person, the way that you charged your phone was you had to leave it plugged in overnight. So it got left on my desk. My personal mobile device never was my alarm clock, never was, sitting next to my bed. I never have the compunction. It is now because it is my alarm clock and it's just easier too. But my phone goes on total night mode. It won't buzz. It won't beep. It won't do nothing before 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's all there is to it. And on Sundays, it won't do any of those things.
That's very telling because I'm very much the same way. I think we're the same generation, I think, where, I mean, I remember you would just be unavailable. They're out of the office. And like, that doesn't really exist anymore, you know? But I love that mindset of like, you know what? I can't get back to you this instant. And because you know what? I'm not a heart surgeon, so you probably don't need me this instant. You know?
Yeah, guaranteed. And but there's something that I think was interesting because Paul was saying, how can law firms do this? But you're saying it's a personal productivity tool. And I think of that bumper sticker that we often see is you want to be the change you want to see in the world. So if you want to change something, you have to change the way you interact with it. And I think there's something that people love the idea that they can be overworked and that it's just an accepted way of being business. Oh, I'm just always on, busy, busy, busy. But I'm wondering how you help people frame delegation as a part of the way lawyers should be working, or people should be thinking of these processes and how to offload them. I mean, how do you help people figure that out?
Okay, so there's like two aspects to what it is first. When it comes to a workflow, and I like to say there's no balance. If you're trying to balance something, are you kidding me? Have you ever tried to balance something? That's not easy.
No.
I don't know why people try to frame this in some way that you can ever maintain it, even if you actually get it, is even the bigger kind of non-visual for me. So I always call it flow. There will be times where you will be sitting at your desk. You can't think of an actual productive thing to do. You're like, do I actually have nothing that needs my attention at this point? It'll be rare, but it'll happen. That's an ebb in your flow. That's when you go get your nails done. That's when you go do something else. Don't sit there at your desk and start worrying about why the phone isn't ringing, because that's what most people I know do. Mm-hmm. Go concentrate on something else. Consider the universe is giving you a bit of a business break, and go focus somewhere else. So when you come back, you're more productive and on when you need to be. But then there's times, and I've said for a very long time, busy is the new black. The first word I hear out of everybody's mouth, friend, colleague, client, busy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why? Oh, I got all this going on. I got all this going on. And here's my follow-up question. Why? Mm-hmm. Because the only person that's making you that busy is you. If you are overscheduling yourself, you need to put in place a process to stop that. And honestly, start drafting. A part of the draft process is not only do you stop living in and by your email and the constant interruption that it will always be, and it will only get worse and it will only get more, is you start scheduling in the time. So the whole point of it is you look at your emails when you have a few moments. You can get addicted to it. I've been OCD to my inbox before. That's why I know all of this stuff. So it's okay. You can check it and hit send receive 1,000 times, but every single time that you do, whatever's in there, you have to process according to the DAF. So you have to look at everything. You have to defer, act, file, toss. Toss is the easiest. Off it goes. Now you have to decide, is this something I need to act upon or not act upon? If it's something you act upon, it goes over into your act folder. You don't stop and work on it. You don't stop and do it. You just throw it into act. And you keep going through everything, putting the defer and defer, done, done, done. File to file, receive stuff, easy. Okay, then you open it. You're not done yet. You open up your act folder, and anything that you put in that act folder, you decide less than 2 minutes, more than 2 minutes. If less than 2 minutes, you do it right now. Whatever the little inky-dinky stupid phone call, follow-up email, whatever it was, read this link, whatever it was, do it. Then you either, if it requires more, you put it over in your defer. If you're done with it, you need a copy of it, you put it in file. It wasn't anything you really needed to concentrate or ever have again, toss, off it goes. But it's out of your act folder. Now, everything that's left in your act folder, you think will take more than 2 minutes for you to do. You now open each one of those items, drag them over to your calendar, and find the time in your calendar when you can do whatever amount of time that thing needs you to do. Research, draft, phone, whatever it is. You put it in there right now. So every day you can do this over and over and over again. So your inbox will always be empty. Your act folder will always be empty. Anything that you need to think about or have coming up or need to just delay a little is over in that defer folder. And everything that you need that's filed is. Mostly your toss folder, done. It's great. That's 90% of what you're going to be doing is tossing. Now you get to, at the end of your day, this is why I love DAF the most. the end of my day, I take a look, I go through all the process, make sure everything's done. Now I take a look at the stuff that I scheduled. It could be stuff that I scheduled last week, but at least I know upcoming, this is the stuff. And when you think about these things and you know they're coming up, ideas happen, creativity happens. I told you, I got to work this for me to be creative. It is not something that comes naturally to me.
Oh, yeah.
But if I'm thinking about things over the course of days and knowing, hey, I scheduled that I needed to write that article on Friday and it's about this. Or if I come across anything, and this is the best time saver too, if I come across anything, I grab the link and I put it in that article because I know I'm going to be doing it on Friday. And now when it comes to Friday, I got to write the article. I don't have to search and do research because these things have already been found in my everyday wanderings. I just had a place to put them so that when I needed them, I got them.
Nice.
So it's a very simple process, and I think it gives people that sense of control. You will never have control in life. Come on, let's face it. We all know it. But
you know what? Yeah.
You will have control over your email. And when you feel the control over your email, it makes you feel like you've made progress, and that makes you look towards the next step. So that's what DAF does. It takes people who think they're in a whirlwind where there's no answer and tells them, here, this is one person's answer. It's very morphable to whatever you need it to do and how you need to do it. But now start thinking about the things that overwhelm you in terms of a process, not a bunch of different things.
I'm super interested in this and going to give it a shot. And I do have a follow-up question for this, but I know for me, what's very attractive about it is the idea that instead of being bullied by your inbox, instead of being reactive to what's happening to you, you can take control of this and say, okay, I'm managing this work now. I'm not getting pushed in all these different directions. So that's, I mean, I love that. It's fantastic.
It's right. Well, it's all a part of the coaching, actually. As Andrea Cannavina, I'm putting in place a 6-month coaching program, and DAFT is a part of it. There's several systems that I have, like you said in the beginning. I've tested things for a very long time. I very rarely make a very specific technology recommendation unless I can literally pin it down for you. I'll make a few suggestions that this might help, but I mostly make process improvements. And I help people organize the paper and the tasks and the necessities of what actually physically gets done. And it's a thing, and people do this now. They think it takes no time to do things, like the physical time. My husband works for a very large corporation where he fixes business machines. And it takes time when you're actually there to unscrew things and screw things in. So he gets called out all the time on his call times. And he has to remind all of what we call the bean counters that there's a physical component to processing work, whether that's what he does for a living, whether that's what the digital assistants for legal typists do for the law firms. Whether you're doing it yourself, there's a physical component that takes time. And if you don't allot yourself the right amount of time, or you think because this task is something that would say normally be, I would just give that to an assistant. Well, guess what? It's going to take you more time to do it yourself than if you gave it to assistants. So please make sure when you move that over into your calendar, you're giving yourself 1.5 times you would have given that assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice.
When you start thinking about delegation as you spending 1.5 more times on something that you shouldn't be focused on in the first place. And then when you start realizing that there are ways for you to process, my big three things as a quote coach, and I'm not as non-enamored as I am with master virtual assistant, I'm not really enamored with the term coach either. So my big 3 things when it comes to helping people, whether they're attorneys or regular people or anyone who works in a law office, is to first you have to streamline. If you're not decluttering the office, its systems, and the way that you do things, then you can't really automate as well, or you can't know where to automate, because that's the second half. You have to streamline, and you have to automate. And what automate does is it pulls the human being need to be in the process and to the actual last possible part. So as much as possible is done before you have to put a human in the mix, because of course, let's face it, that's somebody's time. And whether it's your own time or your assistant's time, it's all time that actually you have to pay for. So you don't want to have to do that. So you streamline so that you get everything as short and small and tight as possible. Then you automate everything that you possibly can. And then you delegate anything as an attorney or an administrator that isn't your most important and or money generating any of those tasks. Go to somebody that you actually pay to do for you, because your rate that you receive from your client is certainly far higher than you're even going to pay an outside outsourcing in-house person to do any of these tasks that you've now decided are only possible to be done by you. Or I want to say everybody in this day and age works 3 full-time jobs, especially attorneys who are solos, true solos. They're the attorney. They have all the court work and client work and legal, the legal stuff they went to law school to do. Then they have the business owner stuff, which the business owner stuff is they're making sure that the billing and timing is getting done, making sure the bills are being paid, making sure that all of the stuff there. So they have that whole job. Then they also get the gopher job. That's the gopher that gets to do and fill in for every freaking emergency, generally created because things fell through the crack at the attorney level. But now they have to be at the call and whim of almost anything else that's going on out there, along with making sure there's supplies, making sure the copier gets done, making sure the mail goes out, making sure the gopher work gets done. So it's 3 full-time jobs for every person who's trying to just exist in business today without the help of streamlining, automating, and delegating.
So this lawyer has these 3 jobs. What kind of things can you tell them that will help kind of consolidate beyond we've been talking about streamline, automate, delegate? Like, are there things that they can find at the Virtual Bar Association that are going to help them kind of, implement these systems?
Well, okay, so they've got me as director of the Virtual Bar Association, and I do teach all of my systems and processes, all of my books, and I want to say 50% of the recordings that I have either done, produced, or been interviewed at are located for the members behind. There's a couple of books, one by Carolyn Elephant, which is still, it's a little dated, but it's still relevant. Technology goes faster than lawyers do. And I think that's for a good reason. I'm not knocking that, but Carolyn's book is a fundamental on the 21st century retainer agreement. And the only place where you can actually see the companion webinar to that is at the Virtual Bar Association. And that's because I produced it and helped her with that. So it's a great book. So you go and you join. You can join for free. The only thing that you have to attest to is that you are actively employed at a law firm. And that's because this isn't a place for anybody who doesn't actually have to process the day-to-day, somebody who isn't in the trenches. I find there are a lot of people out there who try to spread themselves as credible, but they've never actually walked the walk or talked the talk. And so
Sure.
I want everybody who is a member to have known what the pressure is of a 5 o'clock, no, it really has to go at 5 o'clock shit. It's not, we're not joking.
Yeah.
Until you've worked in a law firm, you just don't understand what a workflow is or how it does. And quite honestly, you don't want to hang out with people who don't.
Well,
I like lawyers. I love lawyers. So.
But it makes sense. I mean, it really does make sense. Like, there's no way, I've talked to so many lawyers, and I can sit there and, they tell me, oh man, every time I open an email, I have to log 0.12 hours, and, we're such slaves to this slave. But until you're actually sitting in that chair doing it, to me, it seems like a concept instead of a reality, and so it makes sense. I mean, it does make sense.
It's crazy. It is crazy. It's crazy what they have to do. But not only that, I want to say that perfect scenario right there, I can technologically fix that for them. The problem isn't that every single time they open an email that they have to log 1.2 or whatever it is. It's that they aren't given the option to work the way they want to work. They're told how to work.
Yeah.
Some people, and again, it's not so much the framework. Like, I can tell you how to DAF, but it's a framework that you can morph in about yourself. Lawyers don't get that. They don't get it. It has to be this way. I hear all of these recommendations for typography for lawyers by a person. I can't remember. He's an attorney, Matthew something. He came out a long time ago, and everybody was raving over it. Typography for lawyers, and I'm like, Anybody read the local rules lately? Yeah, that Times New, it's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. Sorry. Unless you want them to go back to Courier. You know, you can try to make it look as pretty as possible, but any crotchety judge I know out there is going to bounce that motion because you thought it was cute to get all funky with your font.
So here, it's Comic Sans.
Yeah, don't you love that?
It's whimsical.
Yeah. So while he may have written a great book, and while lawyers may be raving about it, and they want to use it in their marketing, the concepts in their marketing or on their website, or even in their correspondence, some attorneys I know that go with funky fonts, every attorney's looking at them going, "They got nothing else better to play with." Yeah. All right, whatever. Look at this one. And I want to say it's always people who are more creative, and that's great. They like scrolly, flurry, roundish. I get it, but I also understand why the courts say you're not forcing us to read 30 pages of that. That's just crazy because it's not as easy to read. So.
Interesting.
But then again, with the whole draft and the delegation, attorneys need to do the whole delegation thing, but they also need to get out more. That's one of the things about the Virtual Bar Association that is so special. So if you join, first of all, it's not just for attorneys. I am not an attorney. I don't play one on TV, not even on the internet. But I love lawyers. I love being around them. They're freaking funny. And anybody, I get it all the time from my friends. Oh, so what do you do? Oh, legal. Are you a lawyer? No. Oh, you hang out with them? Like the puzzled question mark at the end as the eyes are all scrunched up. You hang out with lawyers?
Jake and I get that a lot too.
Yeah, we totally.
Crazy. But again, on the plus side of it, so that's one of the reasons why also the Virtual Bar Association is not just limited to attorneys. I find when attorneys know that whatever communication or group or community or listserv is limited to attorneys, it's not as, I don't want to say fun, but it's not as fun either, but it's not as functional. When you have attorneys just against attorneys, it's always a puff show. It's always a don't show your fault. It's a whole different vibe than when you have a room full of people who are not necessarily your competition, or always somebody that you have to watch your back with, and that's the staff. There is a lot. If you think about how much more fun are parties when the staff are at them versus when just the partners are. Let's just start with that. Okay, we all know. So the staff parties are a lot more fun. They're a lot more dynamic, and that's because there's a lot more people in the room from more backgrounds than just practicing law. And that's great. So that's why the virtual bar is there. We're here to help everybody do law better. That's the hashtag, do law better. How it actually came about was my volunteering so much for other organizations without, I don't want to say recognition, although it was promised, which is an appreciation, but I don't think anybody there understands the difference between the two words. And my feeling is, though, it actually wasn't about to help the members. Everything that I was doing was to help the organization, not the members. And so I felt it was a big waste of my time and resources to focus so much on an organization that was more focused on its own demise and protecting against it than it was about educating its members reliably. Hence, I had a community called the Legal Connection. It got rebranded as the Virtual Bar Association. We have a free membership for anybody that just wants to read all of our stuff. Just go. You can access everything that's over there. If you want to come to the live events and be invited to anything that's live, you have to become a VIP member, and it's $99 a year. Intentionally very low. There's already more than $99 worth of content just in the free stuff we're giving away by far. But what it really gives is the social aspect of it. It's meant to get legal people in rooms together in a non-work way to just, bullshit and joke around the way that we always do. Because that's what happens when you get a bunch of legal peeps in a room together. There's generally lots of laughing. And that's because a lot of funny stuff goes on in legal.
Getting legal typists to help lawyers, and then getting the bar associations to realize that lawyers need help. I mean, other industries are completely innovating way past us, and if lawyers don't kind of open up their minds to kind of adding on and outsourcing and virtual bar associations and just these kind of organizations that you're talking about, it could disappear as a profession. I mean, what's your thought about like the future and how, associations like the Bar Association can help lawyers face the future?
Well, I love the state bar and all of the local bars. I think that they are where attorneys need to look to in order for practice management help. If you're required to be the member of a state bar and they have a law practice management advisor, contact them. The only problem that I have is a lot of times the various bars have these partnerships with specific technologies. And so I'm imagining that there's some kind of positive the bar will get every single time one of their members actually signs up. And so that's one of the reasons why I like to caution when a bar association makes a very specific tech recommendation versus a process or a consultant to help. Given also a lot of the technologies, they've been trying to sell themselves for years and years as saving attorneys time. We save attorneys. I remember one. It was very specific about saving attorneys 8 hours. I was like, really? What scientific study did you come up with for that number? Oh, okay. It was somewhat incredible to think that just because they utilized this technology. And then, I kind of delved a little bit deeper, and the very same company, I want to say about a year and a half later, came up with their survey of data they mined of their own users and came up with some ridiculous realization rate for the legal profession at like 2.2%. And I'm like, okay, that's not even like say we're going to extrapolate this across an entire profession. We're just going to leave it with your users. And if your data shows that your users are realizing only 2.2%, I think you just validated the fact that you don't really save them 8 hours. You make them spend those 8 hours doing the administrative task. I think you just proved to us that your tech actually makes lawyers' lives suck more. Sorry.
The best part about what you have to offer is this personal responsibility, because I think Paul and I have kind of been going back and forth, just kind of figuring out how to wrap your head around really complex business processes when a lot of law firms are, led by lawyers when they should be led by business administrative, folks. It's kind of just interesting that, it starts with yourself, and it starts with something that you can do also within, the regulations. I mean, as far as like typography and stuff, it's an important point. But I think that the DAFT is something that a person could do on their individual level that could kind of branch out. But beyond the organizational process, is there something that you recommend for listeners that they can do today or start doing at their firm or in their practice that would help make a positive impact?
Oh, wow. Now I know what it feels like when I ask people, what's the one thing that you can't help but to tell attorneys when you get in a room?
Interesting. Yeah.
That's for the literati. That's for the educators over at the Virtual Bar Association. So the I'll get back to that, but the Virtual Bar Association grew out of not only my ultimate disgust, I would say, at all of the time I wasted working my ass off for this one particular organization and its event, but it also came out because I have so many contacts who are far, far better and smarter and more educated in various things that I am not. I am really, really good at making sure the paying work gets done, that your time and billing is up to date. I don't care about your banking. I'm not looking at your finances. You have issues where you need to go get a loan, go find somebody, there's Jared Carrera, Red Cave Consulting. There's other people at the Virtual Bar Association that do handle that aspect of a practice. So what I did was I assembled all of my trusted contacts. There is no selling. The one covenant at the Virtual Bar Association by everybody, including members, there's no selling. We don't let sellers in. I'm waiting for the first person who tries to sell at a live event because there's two VBA board members. There's an advisory board. I'm waiting because they're wicked wit. I'm just waiting for them to cut them down because
totally.
You have to make an example of one, and these people are going to try to get in. I have one right now. It says, unless you work at a law firm, you can't be a member. If you want to be, something else, look over here. You can become a connection. We'll do a bio spread of you in our guide, but you're going to have to pay for that connection. You're not just going to be a member. You're not going to walk amongst our members and tell them, here, buy my stuff. That's not happening. So, but they try to get in all of the time. So the VBA is my people. You want to know whether or not the company you hired to do SEO for your law firm that's costing you hundreds, thousands of dollars, you call my guy. You want to know who my guy is? Go join the Virtual Bar Association. You want to know who my guy is for your finances? You want to know who my guy is to go paperless? And I shouldn't just say my guy, because I'm kind of universal sex like that. So my guy could be a girl. And I am actually attracting a lot more girls lately because I'm all about the ladies of legal tech these days. This is what I said when that whole study came out, and it boggles my mind that they even released it. It's okay. So if you digitize the tasks of an assistant and teach an attorney how to do those tasks, what did you expect?
Mm-hmm.
Now they've gotten rid of all of the assistants. The assistants who are left are working for what, 5 people? What is that assistant spending the majority of their time other than managing the phones for that many people in active practice? How about trying to fix all of the documents that all of these people who are doing them themselves are messing up? So they're reworking them, reformatting them, resaving them, redoing whatever it is that needs to be done, when if they just would have hired one more assistant, the attorneys actually would have been getting more work done because they're not, stressed behind their keyboards banging crap out, which, by the way, is not the best way to draft, but that's probably a different
Bang it out. No, but I love that, and I think you've handed off some really, really genuine tips and really easy to access information, because I think there's a lot of lawyers who are mad that the Bar Association, you can have this book on practice management, but it's like $300. It's like $400 to get this book on.
Oh, it's crazy.
So it's nice to know.
And you know what? I know all the people who wrote those books, and you know how much money they make off of it?
Probably
nothing.
Yeah. Right. Well, so I think it's great to know that there's alternatives, and for someone who immerses themselves with lawyers and loves them, I think people would be best suited to check you out and join that Virtual Bar Association. But in regards to that, and just wrapping up, like, how can people learn more about you, Andrea?
Okay, so the 3 places where I am are actually AndreaCannavina.com, which you guys I'll put it in the notes because it's too long to spell. There's Legal Typist, which is singular, there can be only one.com. And then there's the Virtual Bar Association. Anybody that's having problems with getting their processes in place should look to me as Andrea Cannavina. Any law firm that's looking to get attorney-client work product, we're not talking the virtual stuff, we're not talking the websites, we're talking the day-to-day physical work done, can look to Legal Typist. And by way of thank you for you guys in this recording, if in the referral space they put the Lawsome podcast, actually just Lawsome is fine, they'll receive a 20% discount on the setup fee, which is $95 for their custom workflow. So that's my way of saying thank you to you guys.
Ten questions we ask everyone.
So here we go.
Right.
With the cleverly titled 10 questions we ask everyone. Number 1, what was the last book you read?
They're all online. I honestly want to say it's been a long time since I've read a physical book, sadly. I read online almost exclusively, and no, I don't even do on a Kindle. When I'm done at the end of my day, I'm done. I don't want to read anything else. Sad, I know, but true.
That's it.
No,
the
totally
eye
understand.
strain is real, people.
Oh,
eye strain is real.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, what is your best habit?
Always trying to find the positive.
Number 3, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or none of the above?
Twitter rules.
That's where all the cool kids are, of course. Number 4, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the correct answer. Number 5, what is your favorite place?
Camping.
Nice. Any camping, anywhere out.
Anywhere outdoors where I'm with a bunch of friends in the great outdoors doing outdoorsy stupid stuff.
Nice. I love it. Number 6, is Keanu Reeves a good actor?
No, but he's not bad to look at.
Truth.
That's what Jake keeps telling me.
It's true. Now I have proof.
Number 7, what was your first job?
McDonald's. I was a cashier. I used to get in trouble because when they would mop the floors, you had to wear the nurse's shoes way back in the day, and I used to slide over to the stove, and I used to get in trouble for it.
Awesome. Moonwalking. That's sweet. All right. Number 8. What is a skill you have outside of your current occupation that you incorporate into your work?
Outside of my occupation that I incorporate into my work. Wow, you guys just stumped me. That's stump number 2. I can't remember the name of a book I've read lately.
No. We're not trying. It's not about putting you on the spot, and it's totally like, I mean, whatever. You could be like, you know what? I think I
bring everything to the table all the time. I am 100% in with everything all of the time. So if anything, I bring too much to the table.
I was going to say, you are involved in so many things. It seems like you have so much in of yourself invested in these different things. Like, I kind of feel weird even asking you that question.
Right.
But okay. So number 9, what sites, blogs, or newsletters do you regularly check in with?
Oh, well, since I'm on Twitter, it's a little bit different than in the day where you had to. But, I'm always reading like Robert Ambrogi's. I got him on my RSS feed, because he's always, putting it out there. He's one of the most credible I find in terms of legal technology news. We're not talking about the fluff pieces and the pseudo marketing and the whatever you want to call it, the pseudo experts, AKA the guy from marketing over at this company is now somehow some expert, it kind of cracks me up. So, when it comes to things, I like people. So there's like Lee Rosen, who was the practice management advisor for one of the state bars for a long time. He's now traveling the world. And I think he's in Singapore right now, but he has what's called the Rosen Institute and Rosen's Rules. And you can go over there and you can sign up. But in terms of like coaching, he's like that one step above me. He's the one that if you need to come to him, you need to find the really high level things in your firm. Like, do you need partners? Do you need associates? Do you need this? He's somebody that I like to recommend. So I do follow. I follow Jim Calloway over at the Oklahoma bar. I love Jim. Such a big guy. Great hugger. And I want to say I do follow a lot of the ladies. Like, you said J.K. Hoey. I read her book recently. I love her. She's a fellow Canadian. Nobody knows I'm really Canadian, but I am. I'm that happy little bubble in New York, I like to say. Yes. So she and I are very similar like that. I also have that. I'm a Toastmaster. It took me a very long time to learn how to, not learn, but get over a actual physical reaction to public speaking. I had the deer in the headlights thing, only so bad, I would almost pass out. So I spent 5 years at Toastmasters in order to become somebody who could stand up in front at the time. And my goal was in front of a bunch of attorneys, because I've been doing this so long and saying this so long. Saying it individually was getting a little much. So I knew I had to start saying it to a whole bunch of people at once. So the next step in that journey for me was to get over that physical reaction. And so there's, like I said, when I'm invested, I'm all invested. And I just hope to help as many people as I can, as much as I can. So if it's only to help you stop being a slave to your email, go to AndreaCannavina.com. Go put your email in. It's free. It'll take you less than 15 minutes. I know I tried to make it. The whole book is like 16 pages. I was born for Twitter. I was just born for Twitter.
All right. We've made it to the end. Number 10. After a long day or a long week at work, or a long podcast interview, how do you relax and unwind?
I cook. I love to cook. I'm a foodie, but it's kind of weird because most people, when you say you're a foodie, they think of, Anthony Bourdain and, see heads of things being consumed. No, I'm not that kind of foodie. Okay, so here's, look what's in the fridge. Oh crap, I'll look at that. I better do something with that. And they call my actual camping, quote, Indian name is Betty. Because that's for Betty Crocker.
Crocker, yeah.
Nice.
I love it.
And that's because I take everybody's leftovers, and somehow when we're all sitting around the fire and it's late and the crock pot's on, somebody's like, "What Betty put in the crock pot?" I'm like, I have no idea. People came over, and it's like scoop. So it's like scoop food. I don't know. So I love to cook. I find the whole physicalness of it is relaxing. If you, instead of asking me coffee or tea, you ask me beer or wine, I would tell you beer. I'm a beer drinker. So if, I have, a nice ice cold one while I'm, getting stuff ready. But usually that's how I will unwind.
Nice. Very good. Well, that's it. We've made it to the end. Thank you for being a good sport and playing 10 questions we ask everyone.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so thankful for you guys in this podcast. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. Again, anybody that puts Blossom in on anything they do for me will receive will receive discounts back again. So my way of saying thanks to you guys for having me here today.
For show notes, links, and info, go to www.consultwebs.com/lawsomepodcast. Be sure to leave us a review and rating in iTunes or wherever you find the you listen to. Until next week, stay lawsome.